Okay, well, welcome. Thank you for coming in, especially on a Friday. I know you had to stay after school, but I got your note very late that you needed to talk, and this is as early as I could squeeze you in. So I thank you for staying on Friday. How are you doing?
Good. It's been good.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. So why are you? Your note just said you had life problems.
I do not know what to do with my life after high school. Even during high school, right now.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. I just want to quick bring up something because we're talking about life, about the subject of confidentiality. And are you familiar with the concept?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want you to know is that while we're talking, I'll be taking notes because I don't remember. And I don't want to confuse things with, I talk with you about somebody else when you come back, I pull out my notes and say, last time we talked, this is what you were doing. So when you see me writing, it's just so I'm making notes for myself, and that what you stay in our session stays in our session. I won't be discussing with other people. So, life. Do you want to go to college?
Yeah, I know that for sure.
Okay.
I know, what I do know about going to college is that I want to most likely stay here, like around, stay home probably for college, for at least for my first 2 years. And I prefer to start at a UC, straight out of here if I could go to UC, or a good school that I wouldn't mind staying at for 4 years.
Okay. So I'm hearing you say you want to go to a UC. Is that your first option? We don't want to go to Cal States. We want to.
I'd consider Cal States too.
And we're looking at only home.
Yeah, well, I'd consider farther schools too, but I prefer home.
And I heard you say for 2 years for sure at home. Are you thinking that at some point you'd like to transfer?
I'd like to transfer, or I'd like to get a school that I wouldn't mind staying for 4 years, but I'd move out and probably live on campus after.
Okay, are you willing to commute?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you willing to, have you looked at schools in LA, maybe taking the train?
I like the idea of the Cal State LA, how I could take the metro,
Yes.
but it'd just be a struggle working my classes around the metro schedule. I don't know how that works.
So one thing we could do is first I suggest we look at schools. Metro schedule will come later. Because it is for working people, they're on the hour every hour, except for on the weekends. So getting you to school is not something I'm worried about.
But is there weekend classes, or is there? No. Okay, so that wouldn't be.
There are classes that are offered on Saturdays. However, most colleges don't require a lot of that in your freshman year. You can choose to. Maybe Saturdays work better for you. But most classes are Monday through Friday. Okay, so you would like to stay in California?
Yeah.
You don't want to leave California?
Probably.
So when you say you wouldn't mind transferring to a school far away, are you thinking that you might be willing to go to Northern California, looking at Chico?
Yeah, Chico or Santa Barbara, down to San Diego. I mean, as far as you can go down to San Diego.
So I guess I'm a little confused. You're telling me that you want to stay home, but then you're telling me that you're willing to go anywhere.
I want to stay home for the first 2 years.
So you want to be close to home for 2 years, and then you want to look at transferring somewhere else.
Yeah. What do you think that'd be a problem for schools?
No. Students transfer all the time.
It wouldn't affect me in any way if I transferred out?
Because when you apply to a college, you're not applying. They don't know that you're applying with the assumption that you're going to transfer.
Okay.
So what we need to do is backwards do this. Where do you want to end up?
Probably. Would they consider me differently after 2 years of college? Like, I'd be reapplying, right?
Well, you wouldn't be. It wouldn't be 2 years. You'd be applying as a transfer student.
Okay. So
transfer students are generally in their junior year or going to start their 3rd year of college. So all the stuff you're doing to apply for school right now, you would do again in 2 years from now. Okay. But instead of checking first-time freshman, you would be checking transfer.
Would I have a better chance later on to get into a school, like let's say UC Santa Barbara doesn't accept me now? Would it be different if I applied after 2 years?
That would all depend on what their transfer acceptance rate is and what your major is.
Okay.
So that gets into the next question. Where do you want to end up, and then what do you want to major in?
Major, I don't know. I know I wouldn't want to go into engineering or medical fields, anything really like math related or science. They're not my strongest suits. I'd probably like to, as a career, I'd probably consider social work or counseling.
Okay. So then what I would suggest is when you're doing your research, look at schools that have social work or counseling as a major, where you want to end up. If you want to end up in Northern California, research what Cal States or what UCs offer that as a degree program. If you want to end up in San Diego, look at what schools offer social work and counseling as a degree program, a Bachelor of Art or a Bachelor of Science. Not all schools offer social work, and not all schools offer counseling as a degree major. You might have to move into psychology and then declare a minor or a concentration.
So if I major in something like sociology, that gives me a variety of options after, no? Wouldn't that give me a variety of teaching or social work, or like what could I?
I guess it depends on what you want to do.
Uh-huh.
If you want to work with people and help them,
Yeah.
counsel them, then we want to look into the field of psychology, which is the study of the brain,
Okay.
whereas sociology is more of the studies of people's, not so much why they thought what they thought, but more like what they did, what they
What
did.
could I do with the sociology? What's the difference? What jobs could I go into with the psychology degree and a sociology?
Sociology wouldn't be so much social work. I know they sound the same,
Yeah.
but sociology is more of the studies of people. So you would go maybe into archaeology or anthropology after that.
Okay.
History, people, civilizations, cultures. Psychology would be more like helping people. So social workers have to go into the home and talk to the kids.
Mhm.
They have to talk to the parents. They have to decide if what they want to do for the best interest of the kid is to pull that kid, work with that kid, get counseling services, counsel the kid at school, counsel the family together. They're the ones that would be like, all right, I'm writing a report, and in my report, I'm going to
So
send
it'd
all
be a
these.
more working with people.
Yes.
thing. Okay.
And they're
yeah.
pulling all these resources together on a
Mhm.
piece of paper to give to somebody, so they can say, now you and your child, when you guys go here, these are the things that you're gonna get. And it's like they're writing plans to help.
Okay. Yeah.
Or you could have a desk job where you sit at a desk and you work with people, and then you can go and talk to them, and you would go back to your desk and you're writing reports.
Okay.
That would be counseling or therapies. I know you guys, therapists, counselors, the words are used kind of interchangeable, but depending on who you want to help and where.
So would a psychology degree give me, like lead me to career, like let's say the school counselors?
Yes, and mental health.
Okay.
Anything like that, you want to stick with psychology. That is a universal program. Pretty much every Cal State, every UC, almost every private school in California is going to offer that.
Is it an impacted major?
On a lot of campuses, yes.
What could I do if it's impacted?
Well, then what you're going to do is you're undecided,
Uh-huh.
because right now you're thinking that you're leaning towards that. So you could go to a school, apply undecided,
Okay.
and then secondary major psychology. So then what you would want to do is figure out what part of the state you want to end up in. Look at the schools that offer psychology, because by the time you apply as a transfer student, the majors tend to be less impacted. People drop out, people transfer, people switch majors, people move all over the place. So when you do it as a transfer student, it's less impacted as a first-time freshman.
What does it mean if I go in with a major and a minor?
It just means you kind of know what you want to do.
What would so
If you went in with a major, I would suggest you major in psychology, because that's really what you want to do, is work in the mental
would
health.
be an example of minor?
It depends on what you would want to do. If you want to work with a wide range of people, maybe you minor in Spanish, so you're very fluent and bilingual, and you can help people in 2 languages instead of just 1.
But does that increase my class load, or does that not even?
It will, but not a whole lot.
Not a whole, it'll
No,
come
a
out.
minor is usually like 40 units.
Okay.
It may add a semester or 2. It's like adding another major where you're looking at least another year. So when we talk about you taking classes in high school and you have to have electives, same thing goes in college, only sometimes when you take your general education classes and then you take your major classes, you also have to have electives. All of those electives you take, you could use the classes for your minor as your electives.
Okay.
Because they're kind of, take a class in one of these. Well, that class fits that, so I'm going to take that. And it kind of counts for both.
Okay.
So you learn how to be creative with your class choices.
So my general ed is going to be basically my first 2 years. So what is that going to consist of?
English, history, science, math.
Is
Art,
it going to have anything to do with my major?
You could take a psychology class. You could take philosophy classes as well and learn about talking about things in a different perspective, philosophizing about things. The philosophy class I took when I was in college was Philosophies of World Religion. I found it very interesting because we discussed the origins of all the religions and how they came to be and where they are now.
Is there a certain amount of classes I have to be taking a
Yes.
semester, or how many do I have to take?
Full-time, it depends on if you're a quarter semester, it's 3 or 4 classes
At least?
at one time.
At one time, okay.
Now, if you're in, UCs have discussions, so it's a lecture and a discussion class, so now you have 4. You have the lecture plus the discussion plus 2 other classes. It's no different than if you take a science class, so you have the lecture or the discussion, and you have science in a lab, plus your other class, so you'd have 5. So you kind of learn how to pick classes. You'll have to take the foreign language again as well. So it's just
Does it have to be the same foreign language? Okay.
So Cal State's offer it where if you take the same language you took in high school, you take a test and they place you. But let's say you took Spanish while you're here. If you want to learn Russian or Japanese or Italian, then you would just go into the basic level class for the new one that you're taking.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Most colleges operate that way.
And I could go in like a fresh student, right? I wouldn't have to know anything. It just.
If you're taking a 1 class, it's like when we get the kids and we put you in French 1 and you're like, we, because that's all the French you've learned through high school. We, and then, you know, the French teacher teaches you all the stuff. It's the same thing in college.
And majoring in psychology, what schools around here could I apply to?
Every school. UCR has it, Cal State San Bernardino has it, Cal Poly Pomona has it, Cal Baptist has it, University of Laverne has it, Redlands, APU, Fullerton,
Cal Poly for
Pomona.
Pomona?
They have it also.
Do I have to live there the first year on campus? Because I have heard.
Cal Poly Pomona has a on-campus freshman requirement, but we can, what's the word I'm thinking? Not reject it, put in an appeal to not live on campus. And last year I helped a couple students do that and they were approved and they didn't have to live on campus.
Okay.
So they lived at home and they just drove to Pomona.
But if I do live on campus, is it still like the same tuition, the same house, room and board that I'd have to pay at another school?
For the most part, it's the same. Some areas are more expensive than other areas. I think it's more expensive to live. Room and board is a little more expensive in San Diego than it is in LA. They're both more expensive than living out here.
Okay.
So it just kind of has to do with the area.
What schools do you think around here I'd have a better chance of?
Well, let's look at your transcripts. It appears that because you're A through G and all your classes are A's and B's, your GPA overall weighted is pretty high. I would say that the majority of the schools in our area, you probably could get into almost all of them. I don't see UCR being a problem because your GPA is high enough and because your class rank is high enough, you're going to be in the LFC, the paper we had you sign to release your stuff last year for UCR. So long as you maintain all your classes this year, you pass, you're in. You shouldn't have a problem with San Bernardino. You could get into Cal Poly Pomona. The private schools, CBU, APU, University of Redlands, all of those should not be a problem. But what I suggest to you is to think about it. So I'm assigning you homework, think about it. You can take that with you. Think about it, look at your grades. Your homework going to be, think about psychology's it. Where do you want to drive to?
Probably.
Where do you want to end up? Think about a whole big life thing.
Okay.
Okay, so you're saying you want to stay home for the first 2 years, we'll look at the first 2 years. But I also want you to keep the end picture in game because you want to end up somewhere else.
Alright.
But what I highly suggest is if you want to end up at a Cal State, start at a Cal State because the whole system is transferring from quarters to semesters.
Oh, they work.
They are in the process of going completely semester. So you want to make sure that you go from quarter to quarter, semester to semester, Cal State to Cal State. It's easier as far as not having to repeat classes, or if you want to end up at a UC, start at a UC. UC to UC is easier. Private to one of the other two is just different in general. And the reason why I say that's because we don't want to have you repeat classes.
Okay.
So think about where you want to end up. Think about where you would like to start, and as far as transferring, if you want to end up at a UC, let's maybe start you at UCR. If you're thinking you want to end at Cal State, LA, or you want to end up at San Diego State, maybe we start you at Fullerton, Pomona, San Bernardino, so before you finalize applications. Think about that. They all offer psychology, so I'm really not worried about that. But then keep in mind, you're going to have to get a master's. You're going to have to get a master's to practice in psychology.
Would I be able to take that at the same school?
You can.
Okay.
So you could take your master's in the same school. But that's way down the line. You may decide after that you want to live in a different part of the country. You could be on the East Coast taking your master's.
And if I want to change my major after that,
Yeah, change it anywhere.
But would I have to restart those back to the?
So what general education classes are required to do is to make you take everything. Because you really want to do that now and you take your basic psychology class, you might be like, well, I liked AP psychology and this is different and I don't really like this class. but I really, really, really like this class. And so maybe you take another class over here and you're like, I still like it, I'm liking this class. That's kind of what general education classes are designed to do, is to get you to start seeing what it's like in life. Because college classes are different than high school classes. So you may decide that you hate math now and get into your basic science class and be like, I really do like this biology. It's not the same as the biology I took, and you may take off with it, or the same with math.
Okay.
So if you know what you want to do, that's fine. You start with that as your mind, but
It could always
be
change.
open to the fact that it could change. So homework is to think about it, we're good to go. And then when you come see me next time, you can be like, this is what I thought. So when we start looking at college applications, these are where you're gonna apply.
Okay.
Got it? Okay, thank you.